Alright, I just want to make a quick video on how much it costs for me to get my private pilot's license. How much it costs me may be different from how much it costs you. So I'm just going to give you my numbers and how much it costs for my plane rental and instructor costs, and that way it'll give you kind of like a rough general idea on how much it was. But so for plane rental at my flight school, it was $155 an hour. That's wet, including fuel, so you didn't have to worry about paying for fuel, and it went off the actual engine time, not the actual time that you had the plane rented. So $155 an hour for that, and instructor cost was around $75 an hour. I'm not exactly sure on that, but so I started taking lessons on August 21st, 2023. October 11th, I had all of my hours. I was ready to take my check ride. Fortunately, I didn't get to take my check ride until November 27th due to the availability of the DPE. I had to schedule it so far out, just because if that's the way, or that's how his schedule lined up. August 21st to October 11th, whenever I had all my hours, I had a total cost during that time of roughly $10,500. So $10,500 from start till my instructor felt comfortable about me going with the DPE to take my check ride. Now, between October 11th and November 27th, I decided to fly during that time just to stay good on my maneuvers and make sure I wasn't too rusty before I took my check ride. So from October 11th to November 27th, I spent roughly extra $2,000. From August 21st to November 27th, I had a total invested of $12,500. That's with all my hours and all. That's not all. One thing that I didn't realize whenever I was going to get my private pilot's license, I didn't take in consideration other things that I would have to buy. Some of the things, actually I'll just go through the list on some of the things that I did not think about being included. So my private pilot's license written test was $175. My iPad mini is around $600. Knee board, just for my iPad to go onto, it's $70. My E6B plotter, both of those together were around $30. For flight subscription, I paid $120 for that subscription. It was for a year. My check ride cost was $800. So after my check ride was over with, I had to give the DPE $800 cash or check, however they prefer, but I just gave him $800 cash for that. My medical exam, I just got a class 3 medical. It was $150. My private pilot ground school online, I took Sporties. It was $300 for it. Your FAR, AIM, ACS, PHAC, I bought all those. Those were around 90 bucks. Another thing that I got that I highly recommend before you take your check ride is I bought mine on Amazon. It's a private pilot license oral exam guide. You can just search that on Amazon. I highly recommend getting it. It helped me tremendously. Also, renter insurance. So that was one thing I had no idea about until it was like a day or two before my solo. My instructor's like, oh, by the way, you got to have renter's insurance before you can solo. So that was extra $436, and that's for a year. So grand total, what I have start to finish for my private pilot's license is $15,305. So if you're looking at getting your private pilot's license, that's just, that's how much it cost me. Like I said, it could vary depending on what you want to spend. Whether you want to use charts or do you want an iPad to use for flight, which makes life so much easier. It's just all going to depend. Perfect world, of course, everybody wants to get their license at 40 hours, but sometimes it just don't work out like that. It just depends on DPE exam, the DPE's availability, aircraft availability. And I did go into this at kind of a relatively fast pace. I got my license a little over 3 months. I highly recommend flying as much as you can just to keep things fresh in your mind. That way you're not flying once or twice this week, and by the time you get to your lesson the next week, you just completely forgot about one of the lessons or some of the things. I try to fly, I aim for at least 5 days a week. Sometimes it was less than that, but that's what I always shot for. Some days I flew twice a day. I'm not trying to tell you that's the best thing to do by no means, but that's just what I did, and that's what worked for me. One thing that I do recommend before you start your flight training, of course, go ahead and get your medical knocked out. Get that done with. Second thing is my personal opinion, I would say go ahead and get your ground school done, get your written knocked out. That way, you know, that's one less thing that you have to worry about, and you can focus on the flying and getting ready for your check ride. I think I was roughly around 18 hours in whenever I took my written exam, so I had plenty of time to really just focus on my check ride. So as far as school goes, I actually flew at two different schools. It was a smaller type school. Didn't work out only because there was only one instructor, one plane, and it was, you know, I was lucky to fly 1 day a week. That's if I was lucky. But I ended up changing to kind of a bigger school. You know, I'm in southeast Georgia, so I ended up flying out of Savannah. Pretty big school, bunch of instructors, bunch of planes. They had a mechanic place on site, so it was never really an issue as far as aircraft being down, staying down. You never really had an issue with instructor availability. The only downside to that, I got to say, is this was at a Class Charlie airport, so you spend a lot of time just taxiing, holding short of the runway, waiting for other planes to land, things of that nature. So you're gonna have a lot of time just going from point A to point B on the ground waiting. But I'm very thankful that I did that, just because it made my communications on the radio much better. I feel very confident in that. Like, I'm not really I don't feel unprepared if I want to fly to any airport, if that makes sense. So that's just my recommendations. So yeah, that's just my whole experience with getting my pilot's license, my costs associated with it. Like I said, yours is probably going to vary. It's going to be a little different, but I had no idea that's how much it was going to end up costing. I honestly figured it would be around the $10,000 mark total, and honestly it kind of was. If you just throw your hours in there from point A to point B, and you can take your check ride right whenever you're ready. But like I said, I mean, it don't work out like that all the time. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop a comment, and I'll try to answer those if there is any. But yeah, thanks for watching.